And say we are live, and I'm chatting to Jandre for our weekly chat about business and social media. If you are joining, let us know where you are joining from. And if you have questions, please post it. Hi, Jandre. So, how are you? How was your week?
Yeah, lekker, man. I think week's been a bit hectic. I think my wife's in Cape Town, so she's there on a conference. So obviously, it adds a little bit of additional tasks to your list, and there's certain things that you have to keep in mind. But it's been hectic, man. It's been busy. But you know how it goes. The entrepreneurial journey, I mean, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, it's just life has its rhythms, right? And I think I'm going on the rhythm where everything is like a little bit noisy, a lot of distractions, and a little bit of overwhelm. So one word to sum it up: a bit overwhelmed. But I was actually, funny enough, listening to a podcast this morning, and they were speaking about overwhelm just by coincidence.
Wow.
And the guy said, you have to be overwhelmed. It's a good thing to be overwhelmed, and you should be overwhelmed, and you can't expect to not be overwhelmed at times, because the point of being overwhelmed is for you to expand. It's for you to expand your thinking. It's for you to really assess what's important and what's not important. There's so many learning opportunities within the overwhelmness that you find yourself in. Learning opportunities about yourself, what you value, what you don't value, what you find important, what you don't find important, and how you can zoom out and truly focus on a bigger picture, but also how you can narrow in and focus at, all the nitty-gritty things that has to get done as well. So being overwhelmed allows you to grow mentally and spiritually. And as I was listening to that, I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. It's kind of what I've been experiencing this week. So that sums up my week. How's your week?
I love that concept, and I'm going to tell you why. Guys, if you're watching, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm chatting with Jandre, and please ask your comments. We only have until past, then we're going. So if you have questions, ask your questions.
Maybe put
I
the banner
really
up first so that people can see
yeah.
ask your question.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I really love that concept because it's the same. Like when we experience negativity, we think it's wrong. We think we shouldn't experience it. And I love the concept of embracing the fact that you're overwhelmed. I never thought about that. But you know what helped me a lot? And it sounds similar. Last year, I did a big event and I felt I'm not good enough. I had that imposter syndrome, and I got that exact same message. You know
Nice.
what? When you have imposter syndrome, when you feel discouraged, when you feel like you're not good enough, that's a good thing
Or you're
because
on
it
the border of
means,
your comfort zone.
yes. And
That's
I
exactly what
never
it is. And
realized
you have to
that.
step over that border, and it's going to
You have to step
require a
over
challenge
it.
for you to do that. Yeah.
And what I love about that is now, whenever I do difficult things, new things are always difficult because we haven't done it before. And I feel that lack of confidence. I can say, okay, that's cool because I am busy expanding my comfort zone. And who's willing to do that? So very I'm very intrigued by the fact that it's actually the same with overwhelm. And then once you embrace it, then you start to unpack it. So how are you dealing with that now? I listened to a video that you spoke about sales going down as well. So it's just so interesting always also to talk about the negative side of things and when we don't feel that great.
Yeah,
So
hundreds.
that's so interesting.
Yeah, so I made a reel. Was last week I recorded it, but it only aired this week. And I just said that we obviously have a couple of our own businesses. So V8 Media is our agency, but within the V8 Media group, we own actual other businesses that we try and grow. And one of those businesses is an online store. And we've been growing quite linearly, nicely, since June last year. We've went from 10K a month to 100K a month to 300K a month to 500K a month to, and I think we ended up on 690,000 Rand in February. And we were like, guys, now we're going to hit 1 million. Let's go. March is the month we're going to hit 1 million. And we just messed it up. We literally just made, I don't know what we did. We kind of uncovered a few things that we did wrong, but the sales tanked completely. And we were down like by 30-40%, the first week. And it made me realize that, growth is never linear. I've been running VA Media as a business since 2018. And if I look at our growth, it goes like this. It happens in rhythms, ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. But it's when you zoom out over a 12-month period, you can see that your highest high is much higher than the highest high 12 months ago. And same with your lowest low. The lowest low is now not as low as the lowest low 12 months ago. So essentially it's doing this. So I'm trying to get this in the camera, but you're continuously going up. So that's just the law of rhythm. It's an actual universal law, which we can unpack at a later stage. But it is applicable to business. And I think we live in this world where we look at other entrepreneurs, we look at other business owners, we look at other agencies out there, and everybody makes it seem like growth is linear. Everybody makes it seem like everything is going to go your way. Just all you have to do is just click this button or just implement this quick strategy, and then you're going to see the growth, and it's going to be a linear experience, and it's going to be amazing, and you're going to have all this time with your friends and your family, and you can sit on the beach and sip cocktails and just watch the money roll in. And in theory, it sounds amazing, but in practice, it doesn't really work like that. And when those instances happen, when you do sit on the beach and you sip a cocktail and the money rolls in, that is 1% of the year or 2% of the year, as opposed to the 98% where you were in the trenches trying to figure everything out. And we get portrayed, we get shown this ideology that that's the whole year. The whole year is going to look like that. So in essence, I think I just made a video saying sometimes shit's just not going to work out, and your revenue is going to tank, your profit's going to tank. And I'm sure you've experienced that in your business too. There are months where you thought this is going to be the month, and then everything just goes completely different direction. So it's being okay with that. It's being okay with that, and understanding that within that process, there are a lot of things that you can learn about yourself and your business. And it is unpacking that as much as you can to learn those lessons so that you can continue growing. And that is what expansion is, mentally and spiritually. And I think that's what we should be thankful for, is when those challenges arise, have the faith that they are going to come to an end, because they always do. If you reflect on your life now, Magriet, if you look at where you are right now with what you've got, the family, the business, everything, and you speak to yourself, like if you could travel back in time and speak to the 10-year younger than you now, Magriet, and she's telling you, Jandre, I'm so anxious about my life. Like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm unhappy with my work. And what are you going to tell her? You're going to say, hey, chill. Everything's going to be okay. I know it feels like everything is falling apart, but it's going to be okay. And I think that's how I deal with overwhelm in a way. It's like, I know that there's a 10-year older version of me, and I think long term. So I think 10 years from now, and I look at that version and I ask myself, what would that version tell me now? And that version will most likely say, hey, bro, this is nothing. This is nothing in the 10-year span. Relax. You'll figure this out and you keep growing, or you're going to find something else that's more fruitful, or whatever it is. So in essence, I think expanding, zooming out. So overwhelm pushes you into the most narrow mindset possible, because it's all these little things that you have to do in the moment, and you have to do it all at once. It's zooming out and going, in a 10-year or 5-year, 10-year lifespan, that doesn't make any difference. Like, you are on the right path. Your trajectory is still where it needs to be. You're still growing. Just continue doing what you're doing. These are just things that happen along the way. So that's my 2 cents on the matter.
Yeah, it's so interesting, because if I think back 10 years from now, it is incredible to realize that, yeah, it was always going to be okay. And that is how it's going to be in 10 years from now. We are going to figure it out. We are going to grow. We are going to be stronger, learn more. It's such an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah,
So
a lot of people might say, well, what guarantee is there that things will work out 10 years from now? The thing is, well, that's what faith is. That's what faith is, dude. Like, that's what faith is. It's understanding, believing in the unseen, And if you have the same mentality, if you look at yourself and you continue doing what you're doing, you're only growing. You're not shrinking. When I'm saying shrinking, I'm saying you're not shrinking as an individual mentally. Your skills are not declining. Your skills are not diminishing. Everything is growing. Your skill sets, your mindset, the people that you meet, your network. So if you really think about it, every single day, every single week, every single year, you've grown from a mental perspective, from a skill perspective, from a network perspective. So it's only logical, if you want to think logically about these things, because it's a bit more metaphysics than it is anything else if you understand reality. But if you think about it logically, that all those dots are expanding. So it's only the probability of you being okay is really good, because the odds of you decreasing your network, I mean, you know the people that you know. So you're not going to randomly not know those people anymore. You're going to know the things that you know. Plus, you're going to learn new things in the next 12 months. So your skills are going to improve. Your mentality is going to improve. Your perspective is going to improve. So if you understand that and you talk about it in your mind logically to yourself, and almost have like a bit of a debate going about where the fearful mind and the more faithful mind has a conversation with each other, you can convince yourself and believing that it will be okay, because there's such a high probability that it will, considering all the shit that's happening with you on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis.
And there's not really anything you can do about it right now if it's not going to be okay. So there's anyway no point in
just learn what you can from it.
Yeah.
Learn
Guys,
what you can, because that's
I'm
what
talking
expansion and growth is.
I'm talking to Jandre. If you're watching and you have a question, maybe about your business, about sales, social media, we're talking a lot about mindset, because that is such a big part of business. But what's so interesting about what you say, the 1% where you're sitting on the beach and showcasing that's very much the same on social media. So I work with a lot of people that just start out their social media journey. And what we don't realize is that when we are on Instagram or on TikTok or on Facebook and we are scrolling, we see content in our feeds. So say, for instance, you're a dietitian and you follow other dietitian coaches. We see content that's really good and content that we like. And then we think, but how am I going to create that content? And what I like to do is go to that page and show people how many posts have that person made in their life. Now, some people, we were actually talking about that earlier. The one girl, she made 3,000 posts. Now, after 3,000 posts, you're also going to be good. But the point is, we only see, the algorithm only shows us content that's been through the trenches, that's been through the learning phase, people that's continued with their journey. But we don't see that. We only see their content is doing good, they're doing great, they're getting a lot of views, but we don't see where they started. So we only see that 1%.
Yeah.
Because that is not where they started. And it's as if we think that we have to be there. So I always also like to think of the fact that we have time, we have enough time to get where we should be. Because when we compare ourselves with other businesses that we see, the 1% of successes that they show, it feels like we're missing out on so much. But the point is, there is enough time if we can just focus on what we need to do today. And I think also a lot of the times that is what that creates a lot of overwhelm for me as well. If I start to look at other people and other businesses and what they are doing, then I just always tell myself, it's okay. There's enough time. 5 years from now, you're going to be at a different place. It's just about keep going. So that's so interesting.
You know, the thing is, at the end of the day, a lot of people might sit there and go, well, I don't have all that time and I need to be there tomorrow. Well, that's a very arbitrary thing. It's an arbitrary perspective that you've enforced upon yourself, and it's saying like, where do you have to be? Where are you now? And sometimes life is actually not that bad where you are now. Right now, things are not that bad, and it can only get better. And if it is terrible, know that it'll be temporary, and have faith that the right things will happen at the right time, as long as you obviously take action, because you have to jump and the net will appear. So you have to take the action and have faith that things will work out. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. They're fearful of change, and therefore they don't take the necessary action to change. And that creates an environment of you moving around in circles. And this is for example, your circle of growth, and you're just moving around in that circle. And every time you step on the barrier, about to step out into a new growth zone with new opportunities, it's almost like the overwhelm and the challenges pushes you back, and you're just like, I don't have faith that it's going to work out. Like, I'll just, don't have belief in myself. And that's why people say the number one thing that you should have is belief in yourself, because without the belief in yourself, you're not going to be able to take that action. And it's such a bumper sticker quote, belief in yourself. It's when you see it, it's like the world is saturated with quotes that look like bumper stickers. And there's so many of them that it almost feels meaningless when you share that with someone. So when I tell you, hey, have faith in yourself, have belief in yourself, someone is going to go, yeah, I know. But meanwhile, what you said has zero impact on them. It literally just went boop, didn't even go into the brain, and it didn't even register. But when you truly understand that is the essence, that is really the biggest lever that you can pull in your life, is to have belief and faith in yourself that things will work out, and then take action in accordance to that. Your whole life starts to change. So it's negotiating with yourself, because there is the faithful side we all have, but there's also the fearful side. And I think it's a quantification between the two. So let's pretend that there's two people in your mind, and there's one that's faithful, one that's fearful, and they constantly having conversations with each other. And the question is, which one are you listening to the most? Are you listening to the one who's backing you, or are you listening to the one who's telling you that you're not good enough, that you shouldn't be here, that you don't deserve to be on stage with these people, or that you don't deserve the company that you've built, or the people that you're associating yourself with, or the network that you have? Or I think it's choosing to listen to the faithful version of yourself as opposed to the fearful one, because whichever one you're going to give the most attention, that's the one that's going to be influencing your life. And it's when you understand metaphysics as a whole, there's a new energetic vibration that forms the moment you start believing. And that's why we all, us as South Africans, we're quite religious people. I think it's safe to assume that a very healthy percentage of the population in South Africa is religious or spiritual in some way, compared to other countries. But yet, we don't take it to heart. We only read that at late at night or early morning. You read a sentence that says, have faith. You read a sentence that says, with the faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. But yet, we just look at it as if it is a bumper sticker. We don't truly believe it, and we don't truly act on it the way that it is actually intended. And I think, without making this a spiritual or a religious and a philosophical conversation, the only way to deal with overwhelm is to have faith that everything will work out, and to take one step at a time, and also realize that this is part of the journey for you to become who you need to become in order to achieve what you want to achieve. That's just the road that it is.
Wow. I spoke to a lady this week that said that she actually realized that she doesn't believe in herself. She's got a business, and she says she always doubts herself. Like, when customers come, she never knows, is she good enough? Is this good enough? And then she would look at other similar places.
Just to interrupt you there, we all do. She doesn't have to feel bad about it. Realizing that is such a pivotal point in her life, because when you become self-aware of it, you can start to act differently every time that thought surfaces again. When you're not aware of it, when you're unconscious, of that habit, that's when you actually in the biggest struggle of your life, because that way of thinking is controlling everything around you. You're not aware of it. But when you become aware of it, it starts to lose power over you. But to her, I also just want to say there's times that I doubt myself, and there's times that you doubt yourself too. Like these things, it's so normal, even for the most successful people in the world, for the smartest marketing gurus and the smartest business people. There are times when they doubt themselves as well.
And it's going to be like that. So what I told her as a practical kind of thing is, okay, so it's sometimes difficult if you haven't, like, obviously you have to feed the faith side, but if you haven't done it for so long, it's very difficult to suddenly say, okay, I'm not bad, I'm good. So I told her to actually go to her reviews and to read every review. And what the people said there, I read the reviews with her, what people said. And she was amazed actually to read her own reviews and to think of it like that. So she doesn't feel good enough, but what are people saying? They are just telling about what a good experience it was and how amazing the place is. And it was interesting to also see her reaction towards her own reviews. And then I said to her, well, those are the facts. So sometimes it's difficult to just go on that feeling or that idea. And when you feel like that, just go back to the facts. So if the facts say that I'm good enough, I mean, if you don't have good reviews, then that's a problem. But I mean, in her case,
Well, it's a
that
temporary problem, but it's
yeah,
also the best thing that could probably happen to you. So if you have bad reviews, it's also the best thing that can happen to you, because what's going to happen is you're going to realize there's stuff that you have to fix within yourself and most likely within your business. And when you start to fix that stuff, life's going to start changing for you. So again,
absolutely.
it depends on how you want to look at it. You're going to have a massive problem from a specific perspective, yes, but at the same time, it can also be the best thing that's ever happened to you.
That's so interesting. Guys, if you have any questions, we only have 5 minutes left. If there's anything you want us to answer, business-wise, or just any comments you want to leave, please do so. So yeah, it's just about that self-awareness and understanding that it's, yeah, I really love the fact of embracing the negative side of life and business, because it's as if we think there's something wrong with us when those things appear, like anxiety and overwhelm and not having and I think for me, the biggest, especially not having confidence in business, is just understanding that is so normal. And it's also about just pushing through and then expanding your comfort zone. Because what I felt with that, where I said I had all this imposter syndrome, and then I wanted to cancel everything, I wanted to pull out. And I realized this is what was going on. And I actually wrote down in a book, and I just went through all the motions of what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling like it. And then I realized, okay, this is normal. And the amazing thing is, now I can do that thing. Like my comfort zone has stretched, and that is the reward of doing difficult things. That is the reward of going through all the hard patches
Well, it's
in
also why
business.
we're here as physical beings, which people don't understand. I think a lot of people don't know why we're here. So people were like, yeah, God created the human race, vada, vada, and if you're good, you go to heaven. If you're bad, but why are we here in the first place? Like, what is the purpose of being human? And I think a lot of people don't really ask themselves that. They don't really truly understand the purpose of a human. It's not to choose good or bad. It's to fully express yourself and to create, because we are all creators. We are, the word of God says we design in the image of God. We created in the image of God. And what is God? God is a creator. So you as a soul have this inner drive to create and to express yourself. So you can do it through anything, but obviously a business is one way to do that. And what people don't understand is that you are following the path that you are built as a human to do, is to express, to create. And when you find yourself in a situation where you doubt yourself, it's really understanding that that's the programmed part of your mind of, you know, our ancestors and all the things, this the fight for survival that's been programmed into our minds that's holding you back. And Jesus came to make us free from that. And he's the one that said, through faith, you will get to where you need to be. You can move mountains. You can do all. Why are you so surprised that I'm doing all these miracles? You too can do that. And he said, if you don't believe you can, use my name. So he's like, if you don't believe in yourself, do it in my name. And in essence, it's understanding that as the human, our souls are programmed to create and express and grow, because that's the purpose of a soul. And when you find yourself on that fringe of growth, it's easy to give in, but that's when you have to just tell yourself everything is going to be okay. What is the worst that can truly happen when you take a step out? But sometimes worst case is really not that bad. You could say, oh, okay, well, I'm going to make an ass of myself on stage. So what? What's the worst thing that's going to happen if you do that? You're going to be, oh, my brand reputation. No, you know what? 2 months from now, people would have forgotten about it. Most of the people, they don't even know you, most likely. So, you know, it's really understanding, like, sometimes worst case, we amplify the worst case scenarios because our brains do that automatically to protect us from getting hurt. So our brains make us feel like we're going to lose everything so that you remain within the circle and within the fringes.
In your comfort zone.
In your comfort zone. So your brain amplifies all the stuff that's going to happen to you. Then you go, oh, let me give in to my brain is right. You know, it's right. Let me just stay here. Like, this is where I'm safe. And being overwhelmed pushes you. It's almost like a forest fire that chases you out of your habitat, if that makes sense. Like, that's what overwhelm does. It literally pushes you out of your comfort zone. It literally creates all these challenges. It's like fires in the forest that's pushing you out of the actual natural habitat and forcing you to go find other pastures. And I think that's how I kind of look at it at the end of the day.
Yeah, that is great. I see. Okay, this is the end of our session. I really love that. I'm on my way now to see some of our members, and I think that's a very good message to take with me, because people generally are so overwhelmed, and understanding that we don't have to feel bad about being overwhelmed. And it's great to say, look, I am overwhelmed. Okay, so what does it mean? It just means I have to figure out through creating new paths, new ways, new different ways that I'm not used to. So that's such an interesting way to look at it. Oh, we've got someone here. Good morning, guys. Hope you're doing good. I don't really have a question today. Just want to emphasize on what Mr. De Beer said about faith. I'm really touched because everything is possible through God. And sometimes that's all we need to hold on. What a session. Wow. Thanks so much for sharing. Thanks so much, Jandre. It was lovely chatting to you, and we will chat again next week. Thanks for everyone who joined. See you guys soon.
Cheers. Bye.